spend their money on. If peace activists like me and Rainer Brown and all the other people that were in the conference could have, you know, some of the kit these military types have, we'd have peace in a couple of weeks. So I want to end finally. Thank you for your attention. I hope you've enjoyed this talk. Thank you to Kant for all his work and for Croce and all the others I mentioned. I want to end just with a couple of poems because some of you know I'm also a poet as well as a scholar. And I'm working on my 7th volume of poems, and I'm enjoying them. These are poems I've written in the last few years. I publish a volume every 4 years or so. When I've accumulated another 100, I carry around my notebook, and if I'm wandering in the hills and get a poem, I jot it down. And then later I have to type it up, and that's a whole rigmarole which takes some time. And so that's it. And because we're all on lockdown, I've got time. So here's my first poem I want to read. It's kind of slightly jokey, slightly witty, I hope. It's called A Poet's Parade. I won't comment on it. I'll just let you enjoy it. If you want a written copy, then just ask. A poet's pain at the do not enter on the dancing fields, where Chaucer sang and Boccaccio danced, where Wordsworth wandered and Keats coughed, where Shelley sank to the shells and went up in flames at the Promethean Games, where even Eliot fumbled about and Pound drowned at Europa's Games. We've all humbled ourselves on the boat of Homer, crossing to Chios, finding our lost loves, stumbling over the words with our heads on fire, like Yeats in Italy, and Joyce in Sicily, and Hemingway in Paris, searching for the true words to say it all with, gradually. We've all heard that drum. We've all danced in a line. Even Taliesin the True, and Don Quixote too. Even the sweet bard of Avon with his long river song. They've all hummed and dittied, awestruck and profanitied. They've all tweaked the nipple of the goddess of stone, who comes alive when you're alone. They've all kissed the lips of the one who down dips below the neck where the bulbic bird sings and gives wings. They've all died on your shore with the birds flying evermore into the autumn sunset, calling, calling, like the last heartbeat of summer. All the poetic tribe are rounded up, more dead than alive, wanting to come back in, wanting to make again the great hymn, wanting to give love another chance, for the heart to gather us in, wanting to say to the muse, everything. Let's re-begin. Let's be the light and the cave. Let's be reborn again into that primal den of the lost ancientness of the Atlantis not gone down, of the Europe still holding, above the din of the rival magicians, and the ignoranti, and the obscuranti, and the legal anti, and the politician anti. Let them all drown. Soulless robotoids, no heartbeat, among them. No poetry in their souls. No soulscapes for them. Just the click-clack keys of the guards shoveling us in. But the poetic troops of the goddess will not be silenced. We will tell how it is, age after age. We will tell how it is to be. We will make the prophecy of the future fire of light, the inflamed lightenment that's lighting your way, and coming soon, like Christmas every day, as every goddess has her way. And the unity's dream, leaping across soul to soul, like a stream from the Alp, down to Goethe, old chap, where Lou laughs at Europa's tavern, and Faust turned back in the nick of time and poured out some wine for us to glimpse the sea from Delphi and the wholeness of things comes round again, strumming and drumming and humming. The spirit of the cave becomes an onwards streaming, going truthwards to glory. So that's my first poem. That's a long and complicated poem. It's an invocation of the poets of the world, the poets of Europe, a poet's parade. The next poem I want to read is a shorter one, and it won't take quite as long as that one. It's a poem dedicated to the Celtic god of the underworld and the equivalent to Zeus and Jupiter. He was the god of judgment, the god of the dead. He was like the Hebrew Yahweh, actually. And it's called a hymn to Taranis. So Taranis was the Gaulish god, like the top god, really. And what they found all over Gaul is statues to him. He was often lumped together in the Roman times as Jupiter Taranis. And he always carries a wheel. He has a club, and he's always got the same pose. And so that's a bit of background for the poem. Into the underworld we all must go and find Taranis standing there, his head cocked quizzically, holding his wheel as ever, the lord of time. Lightning and down there thunder rumbling. A club over his shoulders as he stands, waiting and winking, pointing to justice. Then, setting off into the dark forest of death, the Hercynian wood, where each generation trumbles on over the bones of our ancestors, stepping carefully, letting the stories and sorties unfold. In spite of all this, of how much history of battles and dynasties, we haven't even yet left the wooden age. Its assemblages gather all around us. Chariot wheels, great braziers of thrusting fires warming our cold evenings, our carefully crafted homes, lots for scrying, bowls and platters, spear shafts, rings, pendants, oghams, bark for our books of beech, tables and benches for fellowship and families, Odyssean beds that can't be unbuilt, in which we're all conceived and born and die, harp frames for songs to home in on and bards to sing us home. No, we haven't left the wooden age. No matter what flints and stones we clip and noise, No matter what copper and iron rims we smelt and fix, or pluck out swords from stone, it's still the wood we touch for luck, to bring on loose protection, to scale a tree and dare to answer from some higher view. It's still the tree that forges logic's ladder in us, and that holds the fruit we daren't eat, yet want to. And the birds, they all go there for shelter, to the trees of home, and serenade and glitter with their cries, giving generously as prayer songs to the righteousness of everything, to nest out in and rear their young free, teaching them flight craft, wider circling, academic grove branches, higher education. And thus did Plato meet the Druids, who walked down in the cool of evening towards the groves of Athens. And so did Bladud return from there, refreshed and bubbling with ideas, his mind on fire for truth, his bards still speaking mysteries, their heads still singing on. Into the underworld we all must go and find Tyrannus standing there, his head cocked quizzically, holding his wheel as ever and asking, what did we do? What did we dare to learn, to know? So that's my little invocation of Tyrannus, a wonderful god. And he's also symbolised as a white bull and as the thunder. And round here where I live in Gaul is huge white bulls. It's really weird. And whenever I see one in the fields, it always thunders. So you make of that what you will. Okay, and the final poem I want to celebrate, if I can find it, is the third of the Trinity. Not that one, no. There we are. Shorter one, I promise. This one's called the Druid Bible. We're falling away from the sun, falling into the imponderable dark. With each breath we go further down, further under, where the majestic darkness waits for us. The sweet blue gods and goddesses of insights, those who manage all trysts and improbable dreamings, the sole arrangers of lovers, the moments of seeing and not seeing, of mirroring and not accounting the minutes as real or possible, the covering vast distances in a flash and the going further in, then coming to settle, finding a leaf to burrow into, to be sucked in by its greenness, then being transported, photonic angels becoming electrons, becoming sugars, all the dense dance of the life chain upwards building, playing in the western waters of lovers' wetness, becoming nude and recognising each other's light flash, reading the texts that tell this story. But they're upside down, so need putting right side up. Shem Jazza's story, Lucifer's long narrative, left out. Prometheus's boldness. The poetic Bible rearranged to tell it from the light's perspective how each daimon and each angel swapped places often to get the whole thing done. This the Druids knew, chanting their praises to the sun. This old Blake could see, wandering about Peckham in a dream. And Christ in Galilee, holding his Magdalene. They could see it too. Right, Shalom, the Druids' Bible.